We hear a lot about a future where common infections could become deadly again. It's a scary thought, right? Well, that's the reality we're up against with drug-resistant bacteria. But what if the secret to beating these superbugs was literally on their own front door? Today, we're diving into a really groundbreaking discovery that might just turn the tide.
And to really get why this is so important, you have to understand the scale of the problem. This quote from Professor Goddard-Borger says it all. We're literally running out of weapons. These multi-drug-resistant bacteria, what we call superbugs, are a huge global threat, especially inside hospitals, where they can make routine procedures incredibly dangerous. So let's meet the villains of our story. We are talking about a gang of bacteria that have become absolute masters at dodging our best medicines. They cause these severe infections that are getting harder and harder, and sometimes flat out impossible to treat. This group even has a fitting name, the ESKAPE pathogens. I mean, how perfect is that? Because that's exactly what they do. They escape our antibiotics, and they're a huge reason for hospital-acquired infections all over the world. The one we're really focusing on today, Acinetobacter Baumannii, that's the A in ESKAPE, is considered a top-tier threat because it's resistant to even our most powerful last-resort drugs.
Okay, so how do you possibly fight an enemy that can withstand everything you throw at it? Well, you have to change your strategy. You stop trying to build a bigger weapon, and instead, you start looking for a unique weakness, a true Achilles heel you can exploit.
And that's the brilliant question that started this whole thing. The mission was to find a target that exists only on the bacteria. Because if you could find some kind of molecular flag that screams, "I'm a bad guy," then you can design a therapy that goes after the pathogen with pinpoint accuracy, without harming the patient at all. And they found it. The big breakthrough is this special sugar called pseudoaminic acid, or PISA for short. Bacteria use this molecule to build their protective outer layer. It's kind of like their body armor and their invisibility cloak all rolled into one. It's absolutely critical for them to survive and cause infection. And this is just a perfect illustration of why this sugar is the ideal target. Ourselves, we just don't make it at all. So to our immune system, this sugar is a giant flashing neon sign that says, "Foreign invader here." There's no mistaking friend for foe. So the target was locked in. But knowing the target is one thing, how do you actually build a weapon to hit it? Well, that's where this story gets even cooler, as this team of researchers built something entirely new from the ground up. And Professor Richard Payne really nails it here. This wasn't something that could happen in just one lab. It took a whole scientific dream team. Chemists who can build molecules, immunologists who understand our body's defenses, microbiologists, you get the picture. It was a massive collaboration. The way they built this weapon was just so clever. It was a three-step process. First, they had to actually make the bacterial sugar in the lab, which is an incredible feat of chemistry. Then, they mapped out its exact 3D shape, like creating a perfect blueprint. And finally, using that blueprint, they designed a custom antibody. Think of it like a biological guided missile that was engineered to recognize and lock onto that specific sugar. We just love bringing you these kinds of stories about scientific progress. If you're finding this as fascinating as we do, taking a moment to like and subscribe really helps us keep highlighting the incredible work happening in labs all around the world. All right, so they built their guided missile. It looks fantastic on paper. But the million-dollar question remained, would it actually work in a real-life battle against a lethal superbug? It was time for the decisive test. And the results? They were an absolute home run. In the animal studies, this engineered antibody didn't just fight the infection, it completely wiped out what should have been a fatal dose of that super-resistant Acinetobacter baumannii. This was the huge proof of concept they needed. And the researchers knew right away how big this was. This wasn't just about one antibody for one bug. This was about proving that a whole new strategy for developing life-saving treatments could actually work. It opened up a brand new door. Because really, this breakthrough is much bigger than a single cure. What it truly does is it opens up a whole new playbook for how we fight superbugs, taking us beyond our reliance on traditional antibiotics. This new approach is called passive immunotherapy, and the idea is actually pretty straightforward. Instead of trying to get a very sick patient's immune system to slowly build its own defenses, you just give them the finished product, a dose of pre-made, highly targeted antibodies that can start fighting the infection immediately. And this table just lays it out so clearly. A vaccine is amazing for long-term prevention, but it takes weeks to kick in. Passive immunotherapy is for emergencies. It provides protection within hours, which makes it perfect for patients who are already critically ill or extremely vulnerable, like you'd find in an ICU. And the potential uses just keep expanding. These antibodies aren't just a treatment, they're also an incredible new tool for researchers. Scientists can now use them to map out where these critical sugars are found on all sorts of bacteria, which will help them understand how they cause disease and develop even better diagnostics in the future.
And this isn't some far-off futuristic idea. The team is already on a mission. They have a clear 5-year plan to get this amazing discovery out of the lab and into the clinic where it can actually start saving patients' lives.
So it all comes down to this. The ultimate goal here is to neutralize one of the world's most dangerous superbugs. By successfully targeting Acinetobacter baumannii, they could effectively knock the A right out of that dangerous escape group, and that would be a huge, much-needed victory in the global fight against antimicrobial resistance.